The example is from Vanuatu. Again, when the Asian Development Bank forced Vanuatu to reduce its tariffs, a report from the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, actually said that the benefit of falling retail prices was not evident in Vanuatu. Reduction in tariff increases competition, taxes. A reduction in tariff could cause an increase in consumption taxes in order to fulfill or offset the imbalance of revenue shortfalls of governments. Samoa, for example, introduced a value-added tax and service tax when it reduced its tariff rates in the 1990s. Originally, it was levied at 10%. It raised to 15% and will possibly be raised under the PACER Plus. Tonga is another example. It introduced a consumption tax in 2005, which incurred by joining the WTO, and it gathered 20% less revenue than it expected in 2008 and 2009. Another argument with reducing tariffs is the potential of interfering with local businesses. And this is because when you reduce tariffs, that means for cheaper imports. And as a result of these cheaper imports, businesses will tend to look at these cheaper imports, and then which will interfere with local people who produce local agricultural goods to these to the local markets. Another agreement is the Pacific Island countries trade agreement, which has also the elements of free trade agreement and trade liberalization. Now, the thing with this agreement is it excludes Australia and New Zealand, and it only includes the Pacific Island countries. But that is difficult to accomplish. And the reason is because of diversity and geographical, political, or historical differences around the region. For instance, compact states, FSM, RMI, Palau, these states are more usually associated with the United States because of military or political reasons. Territories of New Caledonia, Wallis and Futuna, French Polynesia are more associated with France. Polynesian states such as Tonga, Tuvalu, Cook Islands are associated with Australia and New Zealand. Melanesian states such as Fiji, PNG, and the Solomon Islands are more associated with under a group called the Melanesian Spearhead Group Free Trade Agreements. And as a result of these agreements, it causes the any effects under PICTA to be so minimal. Thus, having these evidence under the trade agreements, you can see why regionalism has actually failed the Pacific. Thank you.
Well, I would like to start my presentation with a rebuttal. As we are not all aware of the PACER Plus agreement, it is still currently undergoing negotiations. So isn't it too quick of a judgment to actually kill it by saying we're failing it? No, we're still undergoing negotiations. As for PICTA, we Pacific Island countries, do we always need Australia and New Zealand on our side? No. PICTA, which is a trade agreement between only certain Pacific Island countries, excluding Australia and New Zealand, indicate that we would like to take this agreement as a self-determination, a means to adjust to trade liberalization at a pace we Pacific Islands control. And these Pacific Islands include Fiji, Niue, Samoa, and so forth. Now, to continue to our main argument, we, the negative team, argue that regionalism does not fail the Pacific. Now, before we continue to the main argument, I'd like to discuss what is this issue of trade we're talking about. I'd like to make you aware of these issues is that our Pacific Island countries are small and have insufficient resources to be able to negotiate on equal terms with bigger partners. Even with technical assistance and capacity building, it is unlikely that individual countries can negotiate on equal terms with bigger partners at a regional and international level. So why is it important that we cooperate as a region? At Wanatape, the forum chair for this forum, which is currently going on in Legon, said, and I quote, "We need to remove barriers to our economies, that is trade barriers, to better promote the free flow of goods, services, and investment throughout the region. Therefore, the development of regional trade agreements, such as PiPP and PiPP, are vehicles to achieve this." So what are the benefits we can reap from cooperating as a region? Having our markets integrated as a regional market will benefit our Pacific Islands, whereby barriers for goods and services are lowered between countries. They include non-tariff barriers and non-restrictive visa requirements. The benefits of cooperating as a region include a larger market for Pacific firms, with more production at a lower cost and more choices for Pacific consumers and more economic opportunities for Pacific workers. Now, as I continue to our main argument, we argue that regionalism does not fail the Pacific in the area of trade. So what has the region done so far with regards to trade? The first and foremost success we discover is the creation of agreements. Let us look at a number of trade agreements made as a region. We see PiPP, Pacific Island Countries Trade Agreement, Spartica, South Pacific Agreements on another South Pacific Agreement on Trade, and PESA. These agreements made by Pacific Island countries with the intention to cooperate as a region for the betterment of trade. The very existence of these treaties illustrate the success of regional cooperation. Now let me read to you a few paragraphs from the PiPP preamble. The parties to this agreement desire to foster and strengthen trade in the Pacific region, believing that an expansion of trading links will bring economic and social benefits and improve the living standards of all peoples of the Pacific region. This preamble reflects what our countries as a region desire to achieve in the area of trade, laying down the foundation to cooperate as a region. Now, let's look at PiPP, which is a tariff reductions agreement. Now, the Forum Island countries justified PiPP as a form of self-determination to adjust to trade liberalization at their own pace. But they are not only agreements that come into existence, they are currently developing. It has been reported that the implementation of Pacific Island countries trade agreement is progressing much better. Now currently there are seven Forum Island countries which have announced their readiness to implement trade under PiPP. Now there are constant encouragements made to the remaining seven to implement these trade agreements. We look at PESA, which is still undergoing negotiations, and the Economic Partnership Agreement, whereby PACP leaders decided that we should continue to negotiate the EPA as a single region. But these are not the only successes of cooperating as a region. There are the increasing labor market access between forum members. That is the seasonal labor scheme with New Zealand, which just recently started, the pilot scheme for Australia, which was launched, and the ADTEC scheme is producing promising results, not to focus only on unskilled labor, but on skilled labor. To state that regionalism is a failure is too quick of a judgment, wouldn't you think? These agreements take time to be implemented. It is an ongoing process, and as we are all aware of, Pacific Island countries would like to take slow paces in improving or implementing these agreements. Now, to conclude my argument, regionalism does not fail the Pacific. Instead, it is helping us, especially in the area of trade, so as to give Pacific consumers not only access to a variety of choices in terms of goods, but also access to more affordable products. To add on, working together as a region allows easy flow trade of services to benefit all countries, large and small alike.